Welcome back to the daily Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the big Jewish class. We are up to section 72 of the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Let's take a brief look. We are learning the laws of Shabbos. We've entered into a brand new section, and the first step is to understand the holiness of Shabbos and how to prepare for Shabbos. So over the last few days, we spoke about, as I mentioned, the holiness of Shabbos. We spoke about not breaking Shabbos, the reward for keeping Shabbos, shopping for Shabbos, washing for Shabbos, and being in the kitchen, making challah, and having delicious food, fish and meats and wine, and making sure the house is all set and ready for this wedding that we have with the Shabbos queen every Shabbos. We spoke about making sure that the table is covered and not uncovered at any moment, which is why some people actually put on 2 tablecloths. Let's look at halacha number 8. Even a poor Jew should endeavor and make every effort to delight in the Shabbos. He should economize all week in order to have enough money to honor the Shabbos. If he doesn't have the money, he should borrow, even if he needs to give a security, in order to provide the needs of Shabbos. Regarding this, our rabbis have said, "My children, borrow for my sake, and I will repay you." On Rosh Hashanah, all of man's needs are apportioned to him except his expenses for Shabbos and Yom Tov, so it actually doesn't cost us anything. Heaven adds more to his allotment for Shabbos and Yom Tov. Now, if he is in extremely poor financial straits, then our rabbis say, make your Shabbos simple like the weekdays rather than depend on people. So, just to explain what this means, a moment ago we said that even if a person doesn't have any money to spend on Shabbos, he should borrow money. But what we didn't mention, we said, and then even give something as a security. But the halacha says a person should only borrow if he has the money that he's borrowing in other value, meaning he has security. So if a person has, I don't know, let's say he has a piano and he borrows money and he has the piano as security, so then he's still using and Hashem will pay him back. But if a person doesn't actually have the value of which he is borrowing, so then we say rather make your Shabbos like a weekday and be a burden on people. Nevertheless, if at all possible, you should at least try to do something to honor the Shabbos, even a minor thing, like purchasing a small fish or the like. If something is sent to you to eat on Shabbos, so this is an independent point. So let's just break this down. Firstly, we're saying that even the poor should spend money on Shabbos as long as they can. If they can't, they should still try to buy something super small in order to make Shabbos special. They could borrow if they have the means. But the final point is if something is sent to you to eat on Shabbos, you should eat it on Shabbos and not leave it for a weekday. So if somebody's coming over for dinner and they send over this delicious dessert, this whatever it is, ice cream or cake or whatever it is, and you decide, you know what, on Wednesday I'm having over some guests, so let me put it in the freezer and I'll serve the cake that I got on Wednesday. So that's a problem, because since this was brought especially for Shabbos, you shouldn't be putting it away for something else. Imagine food was ordered for a wedding and you decide, let me put this aside instead for something else. If it was made especially for that occasion, it should be used for that occasion. So that's an interesting halacha. When you do receive a gift to be eaten on Shabbos, then you shouldn't push it off for the weekdays. Okay, so we've gotten our house ready. We've got delicious food. Even the poor are involved. So now as Shabbos is coming closer, how do we get ready? So regular work should not be done on Erev Shabbos from the time of Mincha K'tada. Mincha K'tada is around 3-something p.m. If you quickly Google it as a matter of interest. And thereafter, but on a provisional basis that is permitted. So basically it means that you should close your offices at here we go, this Friday means that even if Shabbos is only coming in after 6, you should already close your offices at 4:07. Now that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to continue working after 4:07, as in like a prohibition, but it means that you should close up shop, and then if there's something temporary, then you can still go ahead and do it. So if suddenly a client calls you up and he says he's stuck and he needs us now, then you can help him out. But otherwise, from Mincha K'tada, you should already close shop. Now, if a person needs to work in order to provide for Shabbos meals, meaning he literally needs that money, he has a client coming and he's going to get another transaction and he's going to use that money to go and buy some gefilte fish, then it is permitted even after that. You can stay open till closer to Shabbos. Okay, more on this, it is permitted to make clothes for someone for money during that time. But if he is poor and wants to earn enough for Shabbos needs, meaning for his Shabbos meals, then he's allowed to work all Friday. The same goes for Chol HaMoed, the intermediary days of Pesach and Sukkot, those in-between days between the beginning and end of Yom Tov. Giving a haircut to a Jew is allowed all day on Friday because it's preparing for Shabbos. And even a professional haircut for pay is permitted because it is obvious that the haircut is given now for Shabbos. So that's specifically to a Jew as opposed to a non-Jew. Then it's not in honor of Shabbos. You should already be closing up shop for Mincha K'tada, which we said is around 4 o'clock. Stores should be closed at least 1 hour before the Shabbos. I mentioned before that I remember when I was learning in Israel, one week we were going to somebody for Friday night meal, and I decided that I would buy whatever it was that we were bringing to our host on the way. So I took the exact amount of change, whatever it was for that cake, and I came to the store literally a few minutes before sunset and paid for the cake, and then continued another few minutes and then delivered it to our hosts and then went to Shul. And that was my plan. I was very close to Shabbos. And as I was busy purchasing this cake, some other Hasidic Jew came over to me and he started shouting that it's my fault that the guy is still open so close to Shabbos. And I felt so embarrassed because he was right. I should never have been purchasing something, whatever it was, 20 minutes before Shabbos. I should have gone earlier. And he keeps his store open for people like me. So that's something to be careful about, that we want to try to close up shop at least an hour before Shabbos. So as we get closer to, this is actually a little earlier, but from 9 hours, Shah's Madiyas and thereafter. So right now we sit from around 4 p.m., which is Mincha K'tada. Mincha K'tada is, it's halfway between Mincha K'tada and Shkia. So that means it is 2.5 proportional hours before the end of the day. Now so that's about 10.5 hours. Well, no, that's 9.5. What? 2.5 proportional hours before the end of the day would be 9.5 hours in. That sounds like Klaga Mincha. Okay, I myself am a little bit confused. But now moving on to the next point. So we said to stop working from around, today it would be 4:07 p.m., but you should stop. Okay, I see what's going on over here. you shouldn't have a meal from around 9.5 hours into the day, which would be about 3:30 p.m. if sunrise is at 6 a.m. and sunset is at 6 p.m. Okay. So what does it mean to have a regular meal? It means to sit down for a proper meal, even the kind you regularly eat during the week, meaning you shouldn't be sitting down for supper or for lunch once it's getting close to Shabbos, from around 3:30 p.m. A type of meal that is not usually eaten during the week, even a meal that is considered a mitzvah that can be eaten on another day, must not be eaten at any time on Friday. So if it's a lavish meal, like a fancy meal, then you should refrain from having that all Friday. Unless it's for a mitzvah that needs to be done specifically on that day, like for a bris. You'd be able to have a very fancy meal for a bris, even though it's Friday, although usually it would be done closer to the morning. Or pidyon abed, which is exactly at 8:30 or the like, then it's allowed. But if it's not for a mitzvah, you shouldn't have a lavish meal all Friday, but you could have a regular meal till around 3:30 p.m. If you are having a bris, as I said, it should be done in the morning, and you shouldn't overindulge, so that you'll come into Shabbos with an appetite. So we have three categories. If you're having a lavish meal, then don't have it at all on Friday. Unless it's for a mitzvah that needs to be done that day, like a bris, and even then it should be in the morning. So category number one is a lavish meal, which is generally avoided. If it's a regular meal, then you can have a regular meal. You can sit down for lunch or early supper up until 3.5 hours before the end of the day. 2.5 hours before the end of the day, which would be around 3:30 p.m. approximately, because it's halachic hours. If you're having just a snack, you can eat up until sunset. Once the sun sets, then you're not allowed to eat anything until you make kiddush. So we have, again, three categories: a fancy meal not to be eaten on Friday, a regular meal to be eaten up until around 3:30 p.m., and a snack to be eaten up until sunset. Back to the text. Okay. Every man,
they're having the big meal in the afternoon and not after shul.
are you talking about Friday night or Shabbos day?
Talking Friday afternoon.
Yeah. With Kiddush or before Shabbos?
I don't know if they make Kiddush, but I know they always have the big meal before shul.
Okay, so it could be that maybe they take in Shabbos early. Maybe they daven mincha much earlier, and they take in Shabbos early, and they make Kiddush, and they have the meal, and then they go to daven Bayriv later with the minyan. That's something that's possible. It's not something I've ever heard of, but that's possible, because once it's...
That's why I'm asking if this is halachati or it's rabbani, because, even in Israel, the Sephardim, they're having Friday afternoon or Friday lunch, and in the evening they don't have. Maybe they have a kiddush, but not a meal.
This is from the Talmud, in the end of tractate Pesachim, the Gemara, which predates the division between Sephardim and Ashkenazim. So the Gemara should be for Sephardim and Ashkenazim alike. The Gemara speaks about not making a large meal from the 9.5 hours. So I don't know. Definitely, if it's taking away from their Friday night meal, it sounds problematic to me. But I'm not sure. I'd have to see exactly what's being done. Because if it's for Shabbos, then it should be done with Kiddush. So if they're doing it in honor of Shabbos, then if they're bringing in Shabbos early, but they can only bring in Shabbos from around from Plaga Milcha, which is from around 3:30 p.m. So if it's earlier than that, then it means...
I'm not talking about Shabbat. I'm talking about having a meal. The big meal, what you said, not to have a fancy, heavy meal, before Shabbos. So that's
Yeah,
the minhag.
I don't know. I'm not sure what to say. I have to find out more information. Okay. So there's another rabbinic mitzvah, and that is we're required to complete the parsha of the week, whatever's going to be read that Shabbos, in advance of Shabbos. Meaning, you should read the weekly Torah portion twice, and the commentary of Onkelos, or the translation of Onkelos, once. So this is already from Sunday and after. It is considered reading with the congregation, for the congregation has already started reading the portion of Mincha on Shabbos, which means on Shabbos afternoon, we already begin the portion of the following Shabbos, which means we have basically a week to learn the parasha. Those that learn Chumash every day, on Sunday they do the section for Sunday, and Monday the section for Monday. So already from Sunday, so there's a requirement, a rabbinic requirement, is to read the parasha twice and Onkelos once. We'll see that sometimes if a person can do it with other commentaries, not necessarily Onkelos, Rashi can also work, although Onkelos is ideal. But to read each verse twice and Rashi once. If you are learning Chumash with Rashi, then already from Sunday, by reading the verse twice and then reading the commentary, you're fulfilling this requirement. But that, although you can do it already from Sunday, the ideal time to do it is on Friday afternoon, Friday after midday. Some say that it should be done Friday morning, but others do it through the course of the week. But the idea is that when you come into Shabbos, you've already learned the parsha in advance. You're not just coming in and you're not even sure what the parsha of the week is. You should first read each chapter 2 times, and after that the Targum. It makes no difference if the chapter is a closed or open one. Reading makes no difference how it's formatted in the Torah. Even if the chapter ends in the middle of a verse, you should stop there. Okay, so there's obviously different opinions about this, because the Chabad custom is actually to read each verse 2 times and then read the Onkelos once. So you don't need to read a whole chapter. You can literally read Yomer Hashem el Moshe lemor, and Hashem said to Moses, saying, read it twice in Hebrew, and then you read it once in Onkelos. And like that, you go through the whole parsha. It takes time, takes quite a while, but this is one of the Friday activities, part of what makes Friday so busy. After finishing the Targum, you should read one verse from the Torah in order to conclude with the Torah. It is also best not to interrupt the reading with conversations. If you're busy doing Shtai Mikra, that's what it's called, Shtai Mikra. So from when you start till you finish, you should try not to speak. Although it's not forbidden, but you should try to avoid it. It is also customary to read the Haftarah. And some are accustomed also to say Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs. That's what the Sfaradim do after that. If you're traveling and you have only a Chumash without Targum, without the Targum Onkelos translation, Onkelos's translation, you should read the weekly Torah portion 2 times, and when you come to a place where Targum is available, then you could go ahead and read the Targum. Every God-fearing Jew should also study Rashi's commentary on the Parsha. If you're not capable of learning Rashi, you should study a commentary in Yiddish, such as Se'eda or Re'ena, in order to understand the subject matter of the sentence. So in summary, part of our Erev Shabbos prep is to read through the Parsha, each verse in Hebrew twice, and then the commentary once. So that can be done already from Sunday, preferably Friday. Some do, or preferably Friday afternoon, different opinions about that. If you didn't do it Friday afternoon, you could do it Friday night after the meal. If you didn't do it Friday night, you could do it Shabbos day, again, preferably before the meal. And if you didn't do it before then, you could do it all Shabbos day. And if you didn't do it before on Shabbos day, you could even do it on Motzei Shabbat, but that's not the correct time. It's just to make up for what you missed. And if you didn't manage to do it on Saturday night, then you could do it up until the end of the year. But that's really just catching up what you missed out. But plan on doing it. If you could put it into your Friday afternoon schedule, then that is the best time. Or even if you do it through the course of the week. Thanks so much for joining. Wishing you a wonderful